All right, all right. What's going on? Bhavesh, how are you? Can you hear me? Oh, hope you guys are doing great. It's good to see you. Got a few people on already. Thought I'd jump in. Hopefully the audio's working. Hopefully the video's working, etc. Another Sunday stream. I like doing these Sunday streams. They're fun. How's everybody doing? Let me know if you're in the room. I've got a couple viewers here. So I've got Bhavesh. I've got Christian. All right, good to see you guys. What is going on? Happy Sunday. Day number whatever of the lockdown. You guys going stir crazy yet? Good morning, Bhavesh. How are you? Going crazy yet? I'm tired. Pretty tired for a guy who's been locked in his house for a few weeks. I'm actually doing really well. Business has been going great. I've got a lot of things going on. The stress and strain of everything, a little crazy, but that's just life. That's life always is full of something. So I'm doing good. Thanks for asking, Christian. Daniel, hello. I love it. Love that you're here. Thanks for joining. Glad you can hear me okay. Most of India is sleeping. It's midnight there. Well, I thank you for staying up, man, and joining me. Ivan, hello from Peru. Well, welcome, Ivan. Is it Ivan or Ivan? Ivan. George, good evening. Good evening to you, my friend. How's Austria doing? Austria or Germany? I can't remember which. I think it's Austria. Daniel, yeah, day whatever. Not crazy yet. Embrace my introvert side and keep him busy. Yeah. You guys reading any good books? You reading anything good these days to pass the time away, or is it all Netflix and YouTube? Ivan, awesome. Ivan, welcome. So glad you're here, man. Thanks for joining us today. George, Austria. I thought it was Austria, George. I second-guessed myself. I said Austria initially, and then I second-guessed myself. I just realized? I realized I did not get myself some water. We'll see how we do here. Hopefully I don't dry out in the live stream. Abadasamad. I'm not saying your name right, but you spend time writing articles. Very nice. Who do you write for? I'd love to know what publication you write for. And or are you writing for yourself, your own website? Be curious to know. I don't want people spamming the feed, but if you want to throw a link up there, we'll put that through. I wouldn't mind, as long as it's family friendly. YouTube mainly, George. Yeah, a lot of YouTube, a lot of Netflix. I've been busy. So my work as a consultant, I already work out of my home anyway, so I've been busy doing client work. Thankfully, none of my clients have stopped what they're doing. They're all working and right now need help, so I'm busy for the time being. I actually hired a full-time employee. They started this last week. They started on Wednesday. And I could tell you a little bit more about that in a minute, but I'm so thrilled to have a full-time person helping me, an associate in the consulting practice. Bhavesh says, working from home for my clients. Same here. Yeah. So Daniel got hold of a cool copywriting book. 7-figure marketing copy guy, need it to help our family business. That's cool. Daniel, what is your family business? What do you folks do? And remind me where you're based. I don't remember where you're based. I know you've shown up on a lot of the streams here, but I just don't remember the details. So let me know what that's all about. I'm going to see if I can get the feed a little closer to the camera so it doesn't look like I'm looking away every 3 minutes here. Yeah, I love reading copywriting books. I haven't in a while, but I used to read books on writing. Zinzer was a big one. I forget his first name, but Zinzer had some great books on copywriting. He was an essay and copywriter, and found his stuff pretty good. You know whose book on writing is actually really good? It's not necessarily going to help you with copywriting tips and tricks, but the famous author Stephen King, who wrote tons of horror novels that are really popular. I'm not a big horror fan, although I did read, what was his book? Was it called The Fall? I think that was about Captain Trips, a disease that wipes out the world and leaves a small percentage of the population. But that was a really good, I think I read Pet Sematary too, but he wrote a book called On Writing I think it was on writing, and it just told a little bit about his story and his approach to writing, and it was really fascinating. I really enjoyed it. King's a great writer. I'm not big into horror, especially as a like I don't like horror movies and that type of thing. I like suspense, drama, action, but Stephen King's book on writing, I think it's called, is really just inspiring if you're interested in writing in general. Let's see. So Abdamesamad says, haha, I know my name is complicated. Well, it's complicated for Americans only because, our names are like Mike, Joe, Bob. So forgive me. It's just, it's my ignorance. If I spoke Arabic or some of the other Eastern languages, I'd probably find it a lot easier. My father was Lebanese, so he spoke Arabic. But I never really learned. I learned a few words, enough to get myself in trouble, not enough to be useful. So you say you write for magazines like the one in the UK called Startups Magazine and working on one in Los Angeles called LA Startups. I mostly write about brand strategy. Well, fantastic. I'm glad to have you here because I'm all about the brand strategy. That's how I feed the family as a consultant, and I used to own an agency as well. So you own a branding agency, and you try your best to spread branding knowledge with startup communities. That's awesome, man. Where are you based? Are you here in the US? Or are you in Europe? Where are you located? I'd be curious to know. So Daniel says, and this is a hidden, currently launching a new real estate portal, more on the luxury side, not online yet. We are opening a website called Finance for Project. I'm going to show that. It gives me the chance to edit and not let people throw links in there, but I'm going to put that through since I did ask you to do that, Daniel. So there it is. Very cool. Wish you all the best. George, just found out what copywriting means. Never heard of that before. Yeah, it's probably just one of those, I don't know what it translates to in German, if there's a German equivalent, but copywriting is a pretty big deal. And if you work in an agency, it's funny, growing up, I always thought that agencies, because I used to own an agency as well, and I always thought that agencies were driven by the creative, the designers, the people that do the visuals. And I read David Ogilvy's book on advertising, Ogilvy on advertising, and realized that he built a giant, multi-million, nowadays billion-dollar industry empire based on copywriting. He was a copywriter. He wrote clever ads. And then, so it was his writing that drove the creative. It drove all the advertising. It was the writing. He came up with the concepts, wrote it out, and then they had art directors and designers and photographers and so on put those visuals together. And I think as a young kid, I just assumed that the visuals came first and the writing was kind of after the fact. So it was kind of interesting to learn that. Let's see. Daniel, we are an international family. Parents in Slovakia, half the family in Portugal, uncle in Shanghai. So I'm also an international family in the sense that my dad was born in America, but his parents, I think, came over as children. So, he was first or second generation, I don't remember which, in the U.S. My dad, he's was Lebanese. He's passed away. And my mother, multiple generations in America, English, Irish, Scotch, or Scot, I shouldn't say Scotch. But so I'm kind of half Lebanese, half Irish. The big joke is I used to tease and say, as a Lebanese guy, I'm always angry, but as an Irishman, I'm too drunk to know why. That was just kind of the ongoing joke. I am not always angry, and I am rarely drunk. I'm too old to be drunk. I enjoy a good drink. By the way, I got a bottle of scotch the other day. So smoky, so peaty, so nice. Anyway, but yeah, that's cool. So I'm also international in that my wife is South African. So I'm an American. My wife is South African. So we've got this kind of international thing going in the Gastin family, the clan. Daniel says, looking at King's writing you mentioned, thanks for the tip. Absolutely. I think you'll enjoy it. And I think it's not necessarily going to give you all the tips and tricks you need to be a great copywriter. But if you enjoy writing and you find writing a little inspirational, I just think King's book on writing is, on the craft of writing, a little bit of his background as a person is really enjoyable, and might inspire you. So it might not give you lots of tips and tricks, but it might inspire you to go on and do more with it. So Abdemessa Mad is currently based in Morocco, but most of her work is done remotely. We've worked with a wide range of clients around the globe, from tech startups to nonprofits. That's great, man. Do you have a specialty? I mean, I know you do brand strategy, but like, is there an aspect of branding or brand strategy that you specialize in? Obviously, you're working with different verticals, so it sounds like you're not specialized as far as the kinds of clients you're working with, but is there a segment that you follow? Be curious, because when I hear somebody working with clients all around the world like that, to me, I would just infer that you have some specialty that you're able to pitch, that a client in the US versus a client in Morocco versus Europe, et cetera, London, would be interested in saying, we need to work with these guys. It's just always fascinating to me to know how people market and sell themselves. Obviously, writing articles doesn't hurt, because you're putting yourself out there as an expert, and that expertise also draws people in saying, hey, can you help me? So I know that for a fact. I mean, it's been the case with my work here on YouTube and other platforms as well. So let's see, Saba. So Saba's changed. If this is the same, so there used to be a fellow named NWA Saba that would join from Iran. Is this the same Saba A. Vahidi? Hello, everyone. Hello, Saba. Welcome to the live stream. And we got Daniel. Did your parents teach you multiple languages from childhood? My perspective is such a great thing to do. So grateful for that. No, they did not, unfortunately. I grew up a Yankee in New York State, and didn't really learn a lot of, we learned Spanish. I learned Afrikaans when I was living in South Africa. In fact, Huchandit Mitchell, great to see you. Don't mean to make you jealous, but we had a proper braai, the full dop and chop. Yeah, for sure. I miss braai vlees. Now, so a braai in South Africa is like a barbecue, and the weather is so good, the people's hearts are so big, the meat is so good, and the beer so fine that South Africans love to get together over an open fire and cook some meat. I used to love that. Braai culture was huge. We do a lot of barbecuing in the U.S. as well. But Mitchell, I am jealous because we're still like in the early stages of spring. I'm wearing the short sleeves today, but it's a little chilly outside. I mean, it's not that nice. And so if we cook outside, we're cooking outside, we're not staying. When we lived in South Africa, the favorite thing to do, we were young, in our 20s, was a bring and braai. And that's, for those that don't know South African culture, that's where you throw the fire on, and you've got some meat and you've got some stuff, but everybody just brings their own food. They bring their own meat, they bring stuff, and they just throw it on the grill. And the cool thing about a bring and braai is, you're not like saying, that's my piece of chicken on the grill. I brought my food and I'm going to eat it. You just bring food and you throw it on, and then just everybody helps themselves and has a great time. There's always more food than you need, and it's great stuff. The other thing, Mitchell, not to make this all about braai, but I love samis on the grill. Oh, like a tomato, cheese, onion, a little bit of string to wrap it together, butter it, and then throw that on the grill. Oh my goodness, those are to die for. Such simple food, but tastes so good. God bless South Africa. Mitchell, glad you're here, buddy. Glad to see you. Mitchell, I don't think I asked you last time, by the way, where in South Africa are you based? Where do you live? Cape Town, Johannesburg, Pretoria, Durban? Where are you? Be curious to know what part of the country. Let's see. Abdemesamad says, great question. Thank you. I hope you're saying that I had a great question. I'm full of great questions, and once in a while I have a good answer too. Saba, exactly. Okay, so it is you. Stefan, is my barber closed? Are you, Stefan, look how clean cut I am here. I shaved my head just for you today. And as far as the beard is concerned, I kind of let it go anyway. I trim my own beard, but I do need a little bit of help with the beard. When the barbershops, yes, all the barbershops here are closed in New York State. I don't know about other states, but a lot of states, New York, Pennsylvania, so they're all closed because they're considered non-essential. So yeah, it's a problem for some folks, not so much for me, as you can tell. Is there too much reflection? Do I need to powder my pate so that you're not getting glare in your eyes? So Saba says, As a branding guy, you should have a good memory and proved. Thank you. Yeah, well, not bad for an old man, huh? Let's see here. Daniel, he's asking Stefan a question. I need a barber so badly, thinking of taking it on my own hands, risky endeavor. You guys can just do what I did. So the problem is I've been balding since my 30s, and not like this, but just slowly kind of thinning out. And I got to the certain point where it's like I would kind of keep it close, but I wouldn't shave it. And I was like, it looks stupid. Like you either have to have a full head of hair and in a nice haircut, that's fine. Or you have to embrace the cards that God has dealt you. And so I'm like, I'm just going to start shaving it. So for probably about 4 or 5 years now, maybe more, I've just been shaving it, just getting the razor out every few days and shaving it. And then the other side, I'm like, I should let my beard grow a little bit. So the only thing I've got to do is trim down. You should not be fat, bald, and with a beard. And if you are watching, please know I love you. We're like brothers. But ideally, you're trim, bald, and bearded. Not fat, bald, and bearded. So I've got 2 of the 3. I need the trifecta. I need to be thin, bald, and bearded. But say that 10 times fast. All right, moving on, because you didn't come here to have talk about my grooming habits, I don't think. Abdemesamad says, I feel like I'm not saying this right. My partner and I had a long conversation about that. And now we decided to specialize on only fast-growing startups, Series A stage of funding, very enthusiastic about their business. That's great. And ideally, they're funded so you're not just working for shares, right? I mean, that's always the thing. Startups are always looking for help. It's like you need to find the ones that are funded. And I did some branding work. We did naming, branding, even UI work for some startups. And they were well-funded, and they paid really well. And it was great work. It was fun. The only thing I found tough about startups is you put your heart and soul as a brand strategist, as a marketer into their effort, which they are putting their heart and soul as well. Some of them make it and some of them don't. And I find it's just tough to watch something you put so much work into, even though you got paid for it, to not thrive, to fail, and for whatever reason, not necessarily your fault, just that they weren't able to keep going. They ran out of money or they didn't figure out the market right. And so I found that a little tough. But kudos to you. I think that's smart. I think you're in a great, great place. And I got to tell you something. We come out of this crisis, I think the startup world is going to blow up. I think that it's going to be tough. I think a lot of people are going to be struggling. It's going to look like a wasteland. I think the global economy is going to be brutal. But I think there's going to be this weird thing where it's going to be 2 worlds at once. On one side, you're going to have this kind of brutal landscape where lots of people are struggling. And on the other side, but like layered right over the top, is going to be this other world that we're all part of where there's a lot of work to be done. There's a lot of opportunities. So I think coming out of this, the startup world is going to go bonkers. And it might be a little different than the way it's funded now. Venture might be different, capital might be different, but I think startup world's pretty good. So George just got a haircut done by my wife. George, how'd it come out? Because I want to say last time we talked, you were maybe talking about that. Somebody I was talking to was saying, hey, they need a haircut. Pro Ed Jansen, sorry, Mike, no time. I know sounds strange. I'll watch it tomorrow. Pro Ed, that's okay. I'll give you a shout out right now. Even if you're not here anymore, I would want to tell you thanks for joining us on the live stream. Glad you're here, and I hope that you enjoy watching it later. So thanks for at least taking a moment to pop in and say what up. All I can think is we can help them out. Saba says that Bry sounds like Italian. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Italy and some of these other warm weather cultures have similar things. But man, the South African Bry, it's just a great thing. Stefan says, me too, had my appointment canceled 2 weeks ago. Yeah, everybody's struggling with their haircuts. I got a buddy, I wish I could show you. He was born in Sicily, but he makes custom suits. His name is Vince. Vince, I wish you were watching right now, but Vince DiGiorgio makes custom suits. He makes clothes for me, but he's a good friend. And he sent me a photo because he's been growing his beard. So his beard's like come down to his chest and his hair is just out like this. And he's like, I needed a haircut before they shut everything down, but I kept dragging my feet. I kept thinking I'll do it later. And then they shut everything down and it was too late. And so he doesn't know what to do. He's thinking of asking his wife or his daughter to maybe do it for him. So let's see what we got here. Daniel says, My dome looks good for reals. Thank you, Daniel. I wish there was a way to do a super chat back to you. I'll give you a couple bucks just for the compliments. Thank you so much. That's great. And Mitchell says, I'll have to give that Sami a go next time, based in Johannesburg. So you've never done broikies on the braai? What is it? I think it's broikies. I forget the Afrikaans term for it, but it's like a little bit of minced, like garlic, crushed garlic, butter, tomato, onion, cheese, and you essentially just grill it on the braai, and it's pretty darn good. Anyway, based in Joburg. Good, man. Good. Powerhouse city in Africa. Abortes. Hi from Amsterdam. Mike, loved the thoughts about OODA. Did you read Coram's book? I did not read Coram's book. Now, in my research, Coram's name popped up, but I did not read Coram's book. Do you recommend it? Yeah, I thought a couple other folks' videos that I did watch as I was doing some research did mention it, but what do you think of it, and is it worth the effort? Pi ends with 0. Well, hello from the Czech Republic, my friend. Hey, Mike, I see you're wearing a wristwatch. You're a watches guy. If so, care to share your current piece? So I will share my current piece, but I don't want anyone being jealous. I don't want to make anybody feel insecure or that I'm flexing. Okay, you ready? You ready? And I'm left-handed, so I tend to wear it on my right hand, so you have to forgive me. But I'm wearing a Timex Ironman. I think they retail for probably $15 or $20 US. Yeah, it's just a very inexpensive watch. I do enjoy watches. I don't own any collector pieces. I would like to, but here's my issue with watches, and I don't really have an issue with them. I love them. But my wife and I live in a house that was built in the 1820s. We bought it about a handful of years ago. Now, in America, a house from the 1820s is pretty old. I mean, the country, if you think about it, was founded in 1776. Not like Europe, where you can see homes from the 1300s in some of the major cities. But this house was from the 1800s, and it's rough. It's very rough. If you were to see my office, all the walls are unfinished plaster. The house needs a lot of love. And so I would love to drop a few $1,000s on a watch here and there. But I have a kitchen to remodel. I have hundreds of thousands of dollars that we need to put into this home. So that's my watch story. It doesn't get in the way of other things, but a watch just seems like such a luxury item. So I love watches, but I'm wearing a Timex Ironman right now. Thanks for asking. Abortes says, I like the application you made to branding. I think it can be applied also to other methods that focus on rapid iteration, such as design thinking and agile. Absolutely. I'm with you 100% on that. And that's exactly where my thinking is on this. You know, I kind of alluded to branding, but for instance, you're competing in the market. This is about innovation. This is about marketing. This is about investments. This is about business positioning. I mean, there's strategy, development. There's so much here. And this should also not just inform the front of the house. If you think of a business as the front of the house being, say, marketing, sales, you know, the customer world-facing piece, it's also about the back end of the house. You're a manufacturer, and the manufacturing back end can't move fast enough to support the competitive things you want to do in the market, either innovating new products, trying different package styles. You know, if you can't innovate, and in the back end is saying, well, you know, it's going to cost a lot, or it takes too much time, or, you know, the approval process or getting a new product in the system can take months, that's going to kill you. That's this idea of being nimble. You can be as fast as you want, strategy-wise and marketing-wise, but if the whole business can't orient itself around cycling through these loops and acting, you know, orienting, deciding, and acting in ways that begin to shape the new reality and put your competitors off their game, then you're screwed. So totally with you on that. And I'm excited. There's just so much to do with OODA. I swear, I feel like I could build a whole consulting practice just around the OODA loop. I don't want to do that, but it's just this really simple framework that has a lot of depth to it if you want to unpack it. Let's see. Pians with Zero says, P.S. OODA loop, we have a corp training on it in a week or so ago. It's a thing now. Holy smokes, I had no idea. Tell them to give me a call. I'll come in and be kind of like filler, you know, like if they need a little bit of extra input, you know, obviously they've got somebody hired for that. But that's really cool. I just think there's a lot, like I was unpacking it. with someone the other day, and I'm like, I could write a book on this. And not meaning that it's my idea, but there's just so much application. It's just a great starting point. So I feel like I got to tell you too, I am mentally fatigued today. So if I ramble a little bit, I ramble all the time, as you know, but if I ramble a little bit, please forgive me. Just let me know and I'll get back on course. Bavesh says, I'm 23-year-old. What advice would you give to your 23-year-old self if you go back in time? I would say to my 23-year-old self, break up with that girl you're dating. She's wasting your time and your money. So here's joking aside, I think the advice I would give myself at 23, and I mean this, this is serious. I would tell myself to have more confidence in my own abilities. Now, I wasn't the kind of kid that walked around, insecure or waiting, feeling like I couldn't do anything. I had a very entrepreneurial drive, but I was very frustrated. And the reason being, for some reason in my mind at 23, I thought I had to wait for other people's permission to be who I was. I wanted to get in there and do things. I wanted to build things, create things. I wanted to take leadership. And at 23, here's the thing. There's a lot you just don't know about life. Now that I'm 53, so I'm 30 years older than you, Bavesh, I understand the value of an older person's perspective. But at 53, I also appreciate a younger person's energy and ability. And so all I'm saying is I would tell my 23-year-old self, you don't need anybody else's permission to create wealth, to create value, to bring your game to the table. That's the first thing. You don't need someone's permission to lead. You don't have to be the boss to be the leader. A person that leads can lead from within. They can lead from behind. They don't have to be the person with the title. And I think I was always frustrated that I was stuck under people that weren't good leaders. So I would give myself permission to believe in myself and to bring my best game to the table. And the second thing I would do is I would tell myself, you really need to work on discipline and competence. You need to build your competencies as hard and as fast and as deep as you can. And you need to become more disciplined. Don't be a consumer. Don't be lazy. Don't think that you've got forever. Take the time and use it well. When you're young, you just feel like I'll do it tomorrow because you've got untold tomorrows in front of you. So those are just off the top of my head. I don't have a lot of regrets. I mean, I look back and I say I actually did a lot with my life at 23. But maybe those are some of the things I would not wait for other people to validate me. I would just believe in who I was and I would just get stuff done. That's essentially it. I wouldn't ask for permission. So that's that. Let me keep going here. Saba says, what I learned from this channel so far is producing for a group of people's interests and putting all the numbers apart. I think you said, well, maybe putting all the numbers apart. Simply gathering a tribe. Yeah, that's cool, man. I hope that we are building a little tribe here. I'm really grateful for everybody here. So let's see. Daniel, also 23. Ash, welcome back. Ash, by the way, it's okay that you're late. Greetings from America to you in France. I saw that you followed me on social media, both Instagram and Twitter. Thanks for doing that. I think maybe even LinkedIn. I can't remember. By the way, everybody here, if you want to connect with me, hit me on LinkedIn. I'm going to be doing more. I usually am more active on LinkedIn. Absolutely follow me on Twitter. I'll follow you back. Just give me a shout out so that I know to follow you back. Follow me on Instagram. I'll use those, but I'm inviting you. I'm not telling you, please do this. I'm just saying, if you want to connect with me, definitely throw a connection on LinkedIn and absolutely connect with me on Twitter and Instagram. I would love to be connected with you guys off of YouTube. I told you I was mentally fatigued. So yeah, Ash, anyway, I was just going to tell you, I love some of the stuff, especially on Instagram, seeing some of the photos of your facility, seeing your product. And I think you maybe even I think you have a small child, maybe. I thought there was a kid in one of your photos. Maybe it's a nephew or something, but it was good to see you. So thanks for connecting with me there. And everybody, please hit me up. Abdam Esamad says, agree with you, man. Mitchell says, working for a sports startup I'd love to tell you about. Dude, why don't we set up a time to talk? I'd love to hear more about it. Look, we're all stuck at home these days. I know South Africa. I mean, my wife was just in South Africa visiting family just a few weeks ago. She's only been back 3 weeks now. I mean, you've got armed guards, you've got police and military roadblocks. People can't get out of their houses even to go to the store. I mean, South Africa really locked down. I heard that crazy stuff. I heard that there was a doctor, female doctor, that came down with the virus and self-quarantined in her own home. She locked herself in her own home. They came, police, guns, military vehicles, dragged her out of the house, like forced her into some hospital. She's a doctor. She's self-quarantined. Why does she need to be? But so I don't know. South Africa's acting kind of crazy about this. Just the government is, not the people. But Mitchell, what I was going with is we're all sitting at home, working from home. Let's set up a chat sometime. I just invite you. Hit me up on LinkedIn. We'll set up a time to talk. It'd be interesting to learn more. Okay. Pines with Zero. I've had long hair since 8th grade. Who's laughing now? Oh, sure. Rub it in, bro. Rub it in. Look, I don't know how old you are, Pi, but I had a full head of hair. I mean, I was a Lebanese kid. I had almost like an afro, like full head of hair. And in high school, I had a buddy who went bald in high school. I used to tease him, oh, Tim, look at, and I've got this full head of hair. Well, 15, 20 years later, then gone. So it can happen to anybody. I wish you the blessing of a full head of hair till you close your eyes for the last time, your full life, a full head of hair. I'm not jealous at all. I'm happy with what God gave me. I know how to make it work. But yeah, man, that's not very nice, is it? Oh, that's great. That's good to have some fun. George says the OODA video was really interesting. George, thanks for saying that. Here's the really weird thing about the OODA video. Like, I think it's barely got, I don't even think it has 200 views. Like, that video went over like a lead balloon. So anybody that watched it was like, this is great. I got a lot of good feedback from it. But hardly anybody watched it. Now, that might be my failure in the way that I titled it. I may have titled it poorly. The thumbnail might not be that great. I'm not sure. But for some reason, my almost 11,000 subscribers could give a hoot. You guys all watched it, which I'm really grateful for. But the video has not been performing that well, which I was kind of surprised about. But, you never know. Sometimes these videos, you put a video out and then like half a year later it blows up. But when you put it out, nobody cares. So I'm still trying to figure it out. I'm still trying to get my stride, actually. Let's see. I just hate that I can't say your name confidently or correctly. AQ. I'm just going to say, AQ, we'll start a podcast soon and would love to bring you up for conversation to share some expertise, Mike. Would be a pleasure. Yeah, I would love to be a guest on a podcast. I've done it. I have my own podcast. I kind of put it on hold to focus on video and some of the other stuff that I'm doing. I'm building a course right now as well, so I'm putting the podcast on hold, but would love to be a guest. I'm in 100%. You let me know when, and I'll be there. Mitchell, oh yeah, done that powerhouse Same combo you mentioned. See, now you know what I'm talking about. It's just maybe my wife's family just loves them, but they're pretty popular in Bloemfontein. I can say that much. Abortes, yes, it's top notch. Boyd, the fighter pilot who changed the art of war. A really interesting part that I enjoyed was reading about Boyd fighting as an opinionated outsider. Yeah, I guess, and I've watched some videos of him talking later in life. He was a character. They called him Genghis John instead of Genghis Khan. I mean, he was a bit of a hard ass. He was part of some blah blah mafia. Like he was not real mafia, but they had these names for him in some of the groups he was a part of. But I heard he was an opinionated outsider, and that really led to him bringing some thinking to the table, which thank God. I mean, he really gave us some great stuff. So I guess Bhavesh and Daniel are going back and forth about, hello, let's hear Mike's advice. I'm not sure what you guys are talking about. If there's something specific you want me to answer, let me know. Be happy to respond to that. Maybe it's being 23. So I think maybe that's what you guys are talking about. Abortes, in the bureaucracy that is the United States Air Force, some really interesting ideas to learn from how to build a pitch and then sell it inside a large organization. Similar tenacity to investors in Big Short. The thing, John Boyd's story about how he pitched the it's not really, but like the F-16 Fighting Falcon, pretty interesting. because he knew he had to somehow overcome a lot of that bureaucracy and people that had various interests. So good stuff. I'm going to keep going here. Franz van der Lippe. Hello, Franz. Welcome. Glad to have you here. And forgive me if I'm not saying your surname correctly. Haha, just joining and hearing you talk about 23-year-olds. I'm 23. Coincidence? I don't think so. I think here's the thing. It's like, I'm also 23. No, obviously I'm not 23. I'm glad to have a bunch of young guys on the channel. It's nice for me because I feel like when I was 23, I struggled a lot to find my way. And I don't think that I can make everybody's life great. I don't think I'm any deep font of wisdom, but if I can help in some way, if I can help younger guys, and I'd like to help young women as well, but if I can help younger guys somehow, I'm all in. I love to help you guys. So I'm glad you're here, Franz. Welcome. Bhavesh, thank you. It's my pleasure. My pleasure. So Pions with Zero, Mike, do you think OODA could be merged into Six Sigma agile systems such as into rapid problem solving, Kaizen? Think about how an OODA integrating control plan would look like. And also, thanks, kudos for remembering Czechia. By the way, it didn't go unnoticed. Yeah, it's the least I could do. I felt so bad when I said Czechoslovakia. It shows you that I grew up during the Cold War and the former Soviet, the Eastern Bloc kind of loomed large in the Warsaw Pact in my mind, all that. So thank you. I wanted to make sure that I recognize that correctly. As far as can it be integrated, I think so. What I'm wondering is if OODA serves as a way to work through those things. So, can it be integrated in the sense, like there's control systems and plans and steps, like even strategic planning. Strategic planning goes, like the strategic planners, people are strategic planners, go through almost like, very intricate checklists, just layers and layers of checklists and collecting data and going through the steps and building kind of all the materials to put together a strategic plan. There's a guy named Henry Mintzberg. I'm actually in the midst of his book called The Rise and Fall of Strategic Planning, and he makes the argument, and this book was written in the 90s, and he's right. I think he's 100% right. He makes the argument that a lot of people mistake analysis for strategy creation, that if you do all this analysis, if you study all the pieces and all the parts, that's how you build strategy. But his argument is analysis does not necessarily create or lead to or equal strategy. That strategy making in and of itself is a different thing. And I think if you look at Boyd's work, and there's an article that I read on from Boyd called Destruction, and I think is it Destruction and Creation? The article's not at arm's length. If I remember, I will post a link to the article as a PDF online you can download. You can download it and read it for yourself. It's like an 8-page article. It's a little heady, but I think you can get the idea. But this idea, if you decompose something, if you take the analysis phase where you break something down and you use deductive reasoning, you go from the greater, kind of larger concept into its little pieces and parts. That's analysis. You're trying to pick it apart to understand it. Then there's a synthesis, this kind of creative induction where you're taking all the parts and you're reassembling them in ways that are innovative and creative. So I think, and that's really where you get at the strategic, the innovative applications. And so to your question, you've got these rigid frameworks or processes and steps that people go through. The OODA loop is more for a rapidly changing, multifaceted, unpredictable environment where process and steps are more for, how do you go through a system. So what I'm trying to say is, yes, I think there are ways to make them work together, but you've got to have, the great thing about an OODA loop is it's so flexible and it allows you to start taking control over kind of a ever-changing, multifaceted environment full of conflict. And often these processes and steps with, say, like Six Sigma or Kaizen are for implementing decisions that were already made. They're not really designed for making innovative, fresh decisions, at least the way I understand. Now, I know with Agile, you're doing these iterations. So I'm not saying that Agile can't do that, but even Agile is a way to execute on decisions that were already made. The question really is, how do you make those decisions? How do you develop strategies? How do you reformulate reality in a way that lets you see it differently than your competitors and create new opportunities? So the answer is, I believe so, yes. Maybe that's an opportunity to put something like that together, but I think that it would take a little bit of work and understanding what problem each of these really solves and where they fit in the bigger picture, so that you're not forcing them to work together in ways that they're not designed to do. So that's just my opinion. Let's see. Mitchell says, just connected with you on your website, email, entry post. Great. Okay, I'll keep an eye out for that, Mitchell. Thank you. I'm not sure why you said damn it, but okay. Daniel, perfect. Connected with Mike on LinkedIn. Yeah, nice. Cool. Yeah, I would love to connect with you guys there. I think this is fun to do these live streams, but let's connect. And, look, my only thing is, and it's okay, I respect people that sell. I sell. Selling is honorable. I just don't want to get hit with, as soon as you accept somebody's LinkedIn connection, they spam you with a form letter, and it's like, it's not even really personalized. They just kind of, you guys are too good. I know you're not going to do that to me, but yeah. So let's see. AQ says, Daniel, well, it's not ready yet, but we'll launch it soon. And Daniel, okay, that's twice. Franz would love to see a picture of me with the afro. I've got some throwback photos, and the thing is, I'd have to get a little more adept at the live streaming software, but I absolutely could throw a photo up if I knew how to do it. I won't try to figure it out live on the stream, but I've got some throwback photos. In fact, yeah, unfortunately, my iPad is in the other room. I've got an iPad Pro. I could just hold that up to the screen and show you, but maybe next time. I had a little mustache, full head of hair. I was thin. Those were the days, huh? Got to be honest with you, though. I would not trade where I am now in life for anything. I've had to pay some hard dues. I've gone through some stuff like all of us have, and I don't know that I'd want to do those again. I would do it again if I could remember, if I could take everything from this life back with me and have the wisdom and the competence and the swagger that I have now, I would totally do it again. But if I had to just start from scratch, hell no. I'm staying right where I am. I've worked too hard to go backwards. And I got to be honest, times were a little simpler. I was like in high school in the early 80s. I mean, life was not that complicated. You guys, you younger guys, absolutely have it more difficult than I did as a kid. And I don't discount that. I think it's hard, and I have a lot of respect for young men, young women that are working hard to try to do it right. So hats off to you guys, and anything I can do to help you, I'm in. All right, so George wants to see that afro pic too. We'll get it. Don't you worry, we'll get it in there. It's like the little tiny shorts, the athletic socks pulled up to the knees, like I'm playing softball in a church league or something. I'll get them. Don't you worry. I'll maybe next time figure out how to do some screen swaps. Blah, I can't talk today. Let's see. Pines with 0. It was in response to the barber situation, but your point taken. Yeah. See, now I've lost track of the conversation, so I'm not sure what I'm saying or what you're saying, but we'll resync in a minute. Mitchell says, South Africa even has us on alcohol lockdown as well. One of the few countries in the world to lock down and basically ban alcohol. That's crazy, too. My wife was talking to her mother on the phone yesterday, and we were talking about that. And it's nuts, because if everyone's worried about the hospitals being overrun, why would you force people to go dry? Wouldn't you want them to keep drinking alcohol? Now, I bet for South Africa, part of the concern is the more people are stuck inside, the more they're going to drink, and you're going to have domestic violence. I know that can be an issue. So they're worried about having to go out and deal with domestic violence. But quite frankly, do you want people banging on the hospital door because they've got detox happening? It just seems kind of crazy. In fact, my favorite, I've got a liquor store in town. They specialize in like fine wines, etc. Like I know the owner, family place, Pinnacle Liquors in Rochester, New York. So I go online, I make an order. I got some Campari because I want to do some Negronis, way to get a little vitamin C in the system. And I want to pick up a new bottle of scotch because I was getting a little bit low, and I like a couple fingers at the end of the day sometimes. So I put the order in, you buy online. I just get there, I call them, guy comes out. I don't even have to go in. They don't want anybody in the shop, just puts it outside and off to the races. So kind of cool. So, Mitchell, I hope that they get a little bit more common sense there for all of your sake, because I just think South Africa is acting in a very strange way. The government, the ANC, I think the ANC thinks that they own the country and the people within it versus they're there to serve the people of the country. But, hey, maybe all politicians think that way. I don't know. I'm a little cynical. I think I would be a fantastic world dictator. I'd be benevolent, benign. I would have to clamp down to get everything fixed the way it should be. Maybe 10 years, I'll give the world back. Maybe 20, whatever it takes. Maybe one of my kids has to take over. But it would be for the good of mankind. I would be a benevolent dictator, the best that you've ever seen. We'd have great branding, at least, and we'd be very strategic, so that would be nice. Okay, let's keep going here. Ash, thanks for the Insta Twitter follow backs. Yeah, it was great. I'm glad to connect with you. Yeah, it was your 7-year-old in the photo. I thought maybe it was your son in the temporary garage brewery setup, testing new beer recipes during the lockdown. Bro, I want you to make it through this. The people need your product, and I hope things continue to go well for you and your family. Franz says, yeah, OODA vid was great, and I don't really get why it doesn't have a bunch of views by now. Maybe someone in the chat have an idea what? Yeah, I'm open. Because, guys, this is the thing. If you see, like, hey, Mike, your videos would be so much better if, tell me what that is. Obviously, I'm not going to do what everybody thinks. This isn't like designed by committee, but I'm open to feedback because I'm trying to, get the content out there. I'm grateful. If I get 100 views, that's fine. Obviously, I want this to get out even more, but if you have opinions, thoughts, feedback, I know, like, I could be a better editor. I've got to be tighter in my thoughts, et cetera. Like, I've got a lot of growth as a content creator, but the only way you can grow is if people give you good feedback, and I'm open to that. So let me know. Pauline, what's going on? Welcome. Glad to have you. You watched the OODA video. You wonder if people are just oversaturated with videos since everyone is doing online stuff all of a sudden. That's a great insight, Pauline, and I wonder that too. Part of me was like, well, all they're doing is watching videos, and so I should get a lot of traction. But maybe you're right. Maybe we're exhausted, and maybe part of it too is maybe because we're watching so much content, we want stuff that's lighter, fluffier, more entertaining, doesn't take a lot of thought. So it could be that as well. So I think that's a good insight, and yeah, maybe that's it. Daniel, as I said, I'm 23. My hair is going to be gone soon. Dad went bald at 25. I'm ready. Going for the Vin Diesel look. Dude, that's the way to go. Just my only advice is, and maybe you do this already, make sure you're working out. You don't have to be huge like Vin Diesel, but you want a little bit of a physique to go with that bald head. Don't do what I did. Don't hit the donuts and ice cream too hard. Good times. George, maybe YouTube has marked you as pro-Trump, and by that, hiding your content. Just some conspiracy theory. I'm a huge threat to YouTube. It might be. I'm, what? I am am I pro-Trump? I'm not. I don't know if I'm pro-Trump. I have no problem criticizing him, and there are things he's done that I am not happy with. I was saying to my wife the other day, I said, in certain ways, I think that he is handling the crisis well in certain ways. But in other ways, like, I don't think he's got the philosophical depth to understand the far-reaching impacts of some of the decisions that are being made. So on one level, I think he's got good instincts. He's got good kind of gut instincts, like, yeah, we got to get the economy going again. I think he's right to say that. Is it wrong for him to even bring up that we need to get the economy going again? No, you got to get it going. You can't just leave the world wondering if we're ever going to get back to this or is this the end. You got to give people hope. And you've got to push because you've got all these forces. So he's going to push, someone else is going to pull, and somewhere in that negotiation, you're going to get to a place that everyone's relatively happy. I respect that. On the other hand, some of the decisions that the government's making, some of the freedoms that they're taking away, just carte blanche, there are deeper philosophical, historical issues at play here. And I don't think that, with all due respect, I don't think that the president understands those at all. And nor do I think he cares to. Now, I think he's got some advisors around him that do. That's okay. I don't need the president to be a professor. He's an executive. He needs to know how to execute. But I have no problem criticizing Trump. But I'm just not going to hate him because everybody says orange man bad. I just don't buy it. Like, I don't think that's true. If you're just going to hate him, and no matter what he does, if the guy, like, cured cancer, there's a whole group of people that would tell you why he did it wrong, and why didn't he do it sooner, and so on. So, like when Hillary Clinton became the senator for New York State after her husband was president, she ran and became a New York State senator. She wasn't even really from New York, but she was able to do that. And I gave her credit. Like, I'm a conservative, but I said, she does work hard for our state. I don't like her. I don't like the whole, I found her to be nasty, quite frankly. Yeah, I'm a Republican, so sue me. But on the other hand, I'd push back. If I had Republican friends say, oh, she's horrible, I'd say, actually, as a senator, she works hard for us. She does some good things for New York. I've got to give her credit. So I like to be intellectually honest. I have my ideologies, I have my positions, but I want to be fair as I possibly can. I don't want to be a pushover. I'm not a centrist, but I want to give people credit when they deserve it. And I want to hold them accountable when they need to be held accountable. And so, yeah, all that to say, maybe, I don't think I'm that much of a threat. Most of my content, I'm being open on the live streams. Most of my content doesn't really address politics. And I think YouTube has bigger fish to fry than little old me, I hope. All right. Daniel, you're talking to AQ. Abordes, thought on OODA video views. I wouldn't worry about them not going viral straight away. Quality content is a much slower burn that compounds over time. I would agree, and I hope that's the case. I'm just saying, if there's something that I'm not seeing that's obvious to you, tell me. And if every video doesn't, like, I'd love for each video to do at least 1,000 views. In my mind, at the size channel I am, if I get 1,000 views on a video, that's a good video. And if it doesn't, that's okay. Like, I'm not worried about it, but I think you're right. I think you're absolutely right. And they take time, and I think I'm going to just focus on putting good quality content. I want to start doing some more content on sales and revenue generation. I'm assuming, and give me some feedback here, that a lot of people are wanting to get into businesses, or you have businesses, and you need to be able to go out and find and land clients. I've just always been really good at that. I've got a lot of experience. I've done like 5-figure, 6-figure deals. I've closed millions and millions and millions of dollars worth of business. And I'm more of a hunter. I'm not a farmer. I'm not out there shaking your hand and taking 6 years to finally win your business. I'm like an assassin. The way I like to hunt or the way I like to sell is more of a hunt. And I like to land big clients. So where I'm going with this is say, would you be interested in content that is more teaching how to do prospecting, teaching how to land big clients, teaching how to sell, not sell on price, sell on value, et cetera? If that's stuff that you're interested in, I'm interested in creating more of that kind of content. Let me know. And if not, if you're like, I really just want the branding stuff, that's cool too. But I'm just trying to take a little bit of temperature and say, is this something you're interested in? Okay, back to the comments. Bhavesh, as an entrepreneur and digital marketing guy, should I focus on being jack of all trades or expert of a specific skill? I just want to know pros and cons. Bhavesh, I actually want to create more content on this. I will tell you, I guess there are two answers here. I think when you're younger, building competence is important, and becoming good at many things is important. Now, that's not to say that I think you should be a jack of all trades. I think you want to get broad enough experience that you start to find the areas that you really like working in. So what I'm saying is, maybe you know yourself really well, but sometimes at 23, you don't even really know the kinds of work that you love doing and hate doing, et cetera. You don't even know why. So as a really young person, I would try to get as many experiences as I possibly could. Now, that said, I would focus on building depth and expertise. Expertise is where the money is. Expertise is where the opportunities are. I can tell you right now, with the world going crazy, it is the experts that are going to thrive. Now, you might choose expertise in an area that suffers. So if you've got a lot of expertise in an area that the market's like, we don't need this right now, there's a risk there. But like for me, I'm focused on my strategic and brand and marketing expertise. And I know who my clients are. I know the problems I solve. And I'm getting owners of businesses, owners of companies anywhere from $10 to $200 million a year, which those aren't massive by like grand corporate, but a $60 million company, that's a really good little company. And it's not little, it's a good sized company. And at that CEO and owner, they're saying to me, Mike, I need your help. I need your help. So my advice and my experience has been go deep and go strategic, go expert, because you can charge really big money You can do great work that has a real impact. When you're a jack of all trades, you're kind of run around looking for tactical, low-level work. You got to start somewhere. So as a young guy, you kind of have to do tactical work. You can't come out and go, hey, I'm a heavy hitter strategy expert. And they're going to look at you and go, your neck hasn't even filled in your collar yet. Like, you're young, and that's okay. That's not to say that people don't respect you, but my point is, I think if you're aiming for something, aim for becoming an expert. And that doesn't need to take 30 years. In fact, I've been working on some content around how do you develop expertise. And so I think expertise is the way to go. But at 23, get as much experience as you can, find the right groove, and then once you find it, go deep. And everything that you learn in that groove, if you want to change over time, you can take all that learning with you. You haven't wasted time. There are people that get a degree in engineering, do mechanical engineering for 10 years, and then go back to med school and become doctors. What they learned in engineering actually helps them become better doctors. So you're not wasting time if you go deep in one area and then want to change. All right, let me jump back in. Pi-ends with zero. If I didn't live in the acronym hell that is big corporate, dude, you always have acronyms. You're hitting me with acronyms all the time. I wouldn't know what OODA stands for, but it's a great video, and I promise to share it via LinkedIn if I figure out the ropes of that. Well, thank you. I would, and hit me up. If you, Pi, connect with me on LinkedIn, obviously you're not going to be using Pi-ends with zero as your name. Let me know who you are. Like, message me so I know it's you, because I have no idea what your name is, and would love to connect. But yeah, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Daniel, loving your question. Oh, he's saying above us, you're loving your question, bro. Thanks, Daniel. You guys are having a great chat. AQ, I have a question, please. How can brand consultants charge high for their work and expertise? So AQ, here's the thing. And by the way, earlier you posted a question, you posted a comment to Daniel. I'm going to it was moderating that. I'm just going to show that about LinkedIn. All right, so AQ, to answer your question, I think in anything, not just brand strategy, anything, if you want to charge higher dollars, there's two things to keep in mind. One is the strategy continuum. So there's a continuum of work, meaning on the low end of the continuum is tactical work. It's like if you want to get business cards printed, that's low end of the work. That's very tactical. Anybody can do it. You just have to have the equipment. It's going to cost you a couple $100. You got your cards. So that's the low end of the continuum. The very high end of the continuum, I guess I'll do this over here for the video. Can you see that? So, low and high. Got to get it in the camera here. The high end of the continuum is this really high-level strategic work. You're solving difficult, multifaceted, complex, conceptual problems on behalf of a business, and these problems are transformational. If you can solve this problem, your solution would be transformational, meaning it creates wealth. Good strategic work should create wealth. It's work that transforms something into a better state and helps a company make money. So what I'm saying is, if you focus on the higher end of the continuum, you always want to be moving up that continuum if you can. So if you're a graphic designer doing logos, you want to kind of move up the continuum to be doing branding. And if you're a designer doing branding, you want to move up the continuum doing like brand strategy and so on and so on. The way that you make more money is you don't sell based on the project. You don't say, we charge $5,000 for a corporate identity, or we charge $2,000 a day, or we charge $100 an hour. You don't figure out the work based on your time. You don't charge on the project. You charge on value. So that means you've got to charge based on the value that the client is going to receive for your work. Now, how do you determine that? And this is where and this is why I asked about selling. If you guys are interested in this, I want to do more content on this. In fact, this is the course I'm working on right now, is about revenue generation. But if you want to charge on value, you have to get into more of a diagnostic and collaborative process when you're selling to your prospect. And they have to, with you, help determine what the value is. You've got to take them through a process where they're saying, man, if we could fix this, I think we could make an extra $1 million. So you've got to figure out somehow what is the value. It doesn't always have to be dollar-oriented or money-oriented, depending what currency you're working under. But the idea being, you've got to work with your prospect to identify the value of the work that you're doing. And if you can both agree on that, if he's like, look, AQ, if you could do this work for me, I think we could actually open up our market and drive $2 million in revenue. So you take them through that process. Then you need to be able to make the argument back to them that, okay, with that being the case, my work should be worth $50,000. For every dollar you spend with me, you're going to make $100 back, or whatever that number is. I know that's not the right to get to 2 million. I'm a marketing guy, so I'm not going to do math on the fly. But the point being, the way you make more money is you've got to be positioned correctly, higher on the strategy continuum. And secondly, your sales process. It's all about the process that you take the client through. You know, I have prospects that are like, okay, great discussion, Mike, and I'm just doing like a little bit of fact, information gathering. Can you put a proposal together? I'd like to get a proposal. And I'll just say, no, I don't do proposals like that. We have to go through a process together. At the end of the process, I'm going to share budget with you, and I'll share my solution and budget. If you agree and we want to work together, then I'll put a proposal together. Because the proposal is really just the formalization of what we're agreeing to do. Otherwise, I'm not going through that. And that lets me take them through that process of identifying value. I hope that helps. There's a lot to unpack there, but that's just kind of a broad, quick stroke at how I approach that. And you can do it too. I totally know you can. Okay, George, just send you an invite on LinkedIn too. All right, and when I get off, I'll later, if I don't right away, but I'll definitely be accepting all those invites. I'm looking forward to them. Pi, I have a couple of liters of 80% alcohol for disinfection. Crazy to ban alcohol, to be honest. Yeah, dude, don't drink that alcohol though. That's not the good stuff. Let's see. You'd be the first major dictator called Mike. I give you that. I would love to have a motorcade. Wouldn't that be something? I mean, think about it. What a great life. The only problem with there's two problems. First of all, there would be people that you would have to either imprison or just eliminate to keep power. And there's just this deeper moral problem for me around that. I don't want to have to face God later for the horrors of what you do to keep power. And secondly, everyone's going to be gunning for you. You have to feel like you're always, you get a little paranoid, like everybody's trying to kill me. So fun to dream though. There's still time. I'm young. It could happen. Maybe I need to write fiction just to satisfy that desire. So let's see. AQ, you're talking to Daniel. Good branding for a dictatorship. You got it, man. George, photos of the 80s look really like from another planet, time of my childhood. That's cool. Yeah, you know what? That's the thing. If you guys connect with me on Twitter or whatever, I could probably post a photo there as well. That would be an easy way to do it. Mitchell, the domestic violence has apparently dropped dramatically, so it looks like a good short-term plan. But yeah, long-term is definitely going to be costly. Yeah, this is new territory for everybody. We'll see how this goes. Franz, got to go. Keep on with the great streams. Thanks, Franz. Sorry, I'm sure I missed you like you're long gone, but thanks for joining. I appreciate you stopping in, man. I'm glad you're here. Mitchell, Mike for global president, got my vote. Seems legit. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Somehow, I don't know if it's going to be, I don't think there'll be a vote. I don't think anybody gets voted in as global president. I think you have to take it by force. Oh, gosh. Bhavesh, come up with videos on lead generation and closing deals. Good. All right. That's where we're going, buddy. Pines with zero. Personally, it's simple. I have a small passion project thing. I like to grow into business eventually. So content on making the business grow is interesting. Value-based pricing is a strong factor. Yeah, value-based is all the way. Daniel, Trump is a master in persuasion. He really is. I mean, the guy, he's nuts in a lot of different ways, but he's good at persuasion. He really knows how to play with emotions. I think Trump is an OODA Loop master. If you look at the way Trump does things, he gets inside people's loop. He's reacting, changing, saying stuff. He's throwing stuff. He's like orienting, deciding, and acting faster than anybody. It creates all kinds of confusion and disorientation. His enemies are then trying to attack him. He's already moved on. It's like, I think Trump's the master of the OODA Loop. Whether it's intuitive and natural or whether he studied it, this guy knows how to get inside people's loops. You don't have to like him, and you don't have to say that he's good. I'm just saying he's good at that. You could hate him and still admit that the guy's good at getting inside his opponent's loops. He's not always perfect. And the other thing about Trump is he scores a lot of own goals. I'm a big soccer football fan, European football. Trump scores a lot of own goals. He creates a lot of his own trouble. And that's part of the problem of being this kind of erratic, crazy OODA Loop guy, I guess. He he creates his own trouble. So, that's probably not the best. But so anyway, Daniel says there are lots of lessons to learn from him, even though he is really polarizing. He totally is, and that's destructive at times. These days, it seems like a leader has to be polarizing. It's unfortunate, but we do live in a cynical kind of postmodern world. It's a very politicized world. There are other institutions in life, things like religion, art, education. These other institutions filled roles for us as a society, and as those institutions get deconstructed, progressivism kind of unravels a lot of these institutions and reforms them however it wants to. Well, as these institutions get removed or repositioned to serve a different role in society, you're kind of left with politics and government being the only institution that we all orient around, and that's unfortunate. People didn't live or fully around politics. That wasn't necessarily a human way to live. I'm not saying that politics are bad. You can't have groups of people without some type of political thing happening. It's how groups of people organize and work together. But politics seems to be taking up more and more of the space that other institutions, human institutions, used to. And I think that's unfortunate because we kind of are impoverished. We're like a guitar that only has one string. You can only play a few notes. There's no complexity. There's no beauty, no harmonies, melodies. I mean, I guess you could play a melody on one note, one string, but it would get boring after a while. And I think that's kind of where life has gotten to because it's just all politics all the time. And the reason for that is because when you strip everything out of life, all that's left is power. People just struggling for power. There's no necessary good. There's no objective truth. It's just who controls power, and that's really what politics is all about. So this is, gosh, I get into philosophy and all kinds of stuff, don't I? I have to be careful. Do I have to be careful? I don't know. All right, Pines with Zero, but I wouldn't avoid commentary on major publicly visible marketing. It's helpful because general market standard viewpoints can be gleaned from that. I agree, Pi. And I think that kind of content is important too. I like doing those brand commentary videos. I haven't done those in a while, but I want to. It's just I have to keep my finger on the pulse of the news and then put something together. But I want to have a mix. I really wish I could put out like 2 videos a week plus the live stream. So it doesn't mean it's going to happen, but that's what I wish. Pauline, I'm not in business nor necessarily want to own a business. You have a perspective on life and business that I've never heard, and I can see you have a lot of wisdom. Thank you, Pauline. That's very kind. I'm glad you're here. I just assumed you were a corporate professional. The fact that you have never been in business or don't own one or don't want to is totally cool. Like, I'm glad you're here and I want you here. And I always appreciate your encouragement. You always chime in. You say, hey, you watch my stuff and let me know. And that means a lot to me as a creator. You put a lot of time into something and you hope that somebody likes it. You want them to. And so just the fact that you're a part of the community means a lot to me. So thank you for that. And Wojciech Sawalski, howdy. Hey, Wojciech, welcome. Glad you're here, man. Pines with Zero, a little hello to his friend there. Yeah, a couple. Are you guys both Czech? Is that what's going on? Or maybe Poland and Czech? I don't know. AD 576, you should have your son Josh join your YouTube channel. All right, so here's the thing. AD 576. I agree with you. Now, Josh actually just joined my consulting practice as a full-time associate. He's my first employee. His background and AD, I don't know if you know him in real life or you're just, I don't know how you connect with Josh, but he has a background in economics. He's been an analyst for a number of years for a publicly traded company, but he's got a strategic mind and he's got the branding marketing gene. And he's just a heck of a guy. And all 3 of my kids are awesome. Everybody thinks their kids are wonderful and beautiful, but I'm so blessed and grateful for my kids. Josh is my eldest, and he just started with me April 1st, full-time, and it's been phenomenal. And, we're going to have to take it month by month because we don't know what the economy is going to look like. We don't know what the revenue stream is going to look like with clients, but I'm so glad he's working with me. And already, in just a few days, he's jumped right in and created value for me. And we're working together to kind of see how we can get that exponential thing happening between 2 people versus just one working on their own. So 85.7, whatever. I'd love to know how you know Josh, because I think that's Mitchell. You're taking off. Take it easy, man. I'm so glad you were here, and thanks again for joining us. I'm looking forward to seeing you on LinkedIn, etc. Okay, AQ says, thank you, Mike. That was really helpful. Pleasure. I'm glad. How old were you when you first discovered branding, Mike? Well, so I studied graphic design. My major was communication in college, and I minored in graphic design. So I was aware of, marketing, advertising, design, corporate identity back in the 80s when I was in college. But I don't think we talked about branding as much. I mean, we talked about brands, but I don't know that language that was more in the 90s. I guess I became more aware of that. But I've always been, I say always, not always, but from college on, I was kind of focused on brands, corporate identity, communication, packaging, how all that stuff comes together visually and communication-wise. The question for me is like, when did I realize I was more strategic than tactical? Because as a young guy, I was attracted to design, graphic design specifically, and industrial design. But in my 30s, I started realizing I was more interested in strategy than anything else. And so that's probably early mid-30s when that started to develop for me. George wants to know, so Pines with Zero says, Mike and Josh for global domination. Yes, we can. I would have to include all my family. I think my kids all have that gene. We're all kind of like, dictatorship for life. So fortunately, we love each other. So we wouldn't wipe each other out. We just work together. I've always joked with the kids, we used to homeschool, and I used to joke with the kids when we were younger. It's like, we just need to find some small company we can take over. In America, like when someone's mugging someone, they call it, you roll them, like that guy just got rolled. That means somebody, mugged them and took their wallet. So I used to say, we need to find a small country that we can roll. That was kind of a joke. I just wanted my kids to think a little differently, so I used to goof around like that. Shame on me. Anyway, that's that. So George wants to know my favorite soccer team. So George, I'm going to tell you, I love Barcelona. I love Spanish soccer, first of all, and I know we've got people from all over the world. I love Spanish soccer. I think the Spanish style of play is beautiful. I fell in love with Spanish soccer the year that they won World Cup. I didn't grow up knowing much about soccer. I played basketball and baseball as a kid in high school, but I fell in love with soccer in my 30s and early 40s, and then it was probably my early 40s actually. But I watched Spain win the World Cup, and my son, Josh, said, hey, Dad, you should follow Barcelona because half the Spanish team plays for Barcelona, and I love Iniesta, Andre Iniesta, what a wonderful guy. And they have Messi, who's from Argentina. And so I started watching Barcelona back when Guardiola was the last couple years of his coaching, and I've just been a Barcelona fan since then. I love Barcelona. Now, I know there's something about big clubs that people hate, and Barcelona's had its issues and so on. I don't think they're perfect, but I love Barcelona. So that's that. How about you? What's your favorite one, George? Pines with Zero. Okay, is telling me that Wojciech is Polish, but we're basically BFF countries. Absolutely. Very cool, Wojciech. Pines with Zero. Zarathustra said that the primal sin is not being joyful. Thus said, right? If we're looking at philosophy, he discarded any views that made one serious or unhappy. He was a beast of a philosopher. Yeah, that's fine. I mean, I think human beings, joy and happiness are a little different for me. We won't get into that, but I think there are aspects of the human experience that are not always joyful, but help us grow. We go through pain and loss, suffer, struggle. I don't think that we should seek those things out just to be miserable. But on the other hand, I've found deep joy, I guess, and maybe this, in sacrificing for others, in laying down some of my own wants. If you were to ask me at the front end, is this going to make me joyful? I'd say, no, I'm giving something up. This is bad. I don't want to. But then later, after giving that thing up on behalf of someone else to help them, I actually found a deeper sense of satisfaction and joy. So, I haven't read Thus Said Zarathustra, or however you pronounce it. Was that Nietzsche that wrote that, or Nietzsche, or however you say his name? But so I can't really speak to it. But finding joy, I think, is important, and Christianity offers joy through Christ, obviously, so I'm not against that. But I know if it were up to me to decide what would make me joyful, I'd probably choose the wrong thing sometimes in the long term. So let's not get into that too much. You guys don't want all that stuff. All right. Ash says, global president reminds me of world king. Can you guess which world leader's first aspiration as a young child was to be world king? Yes, that's right. Our idiot prime minister, Boris Johnson. Boris. Yeah, he's he's an interesting character, Boris. Well, we have like a world of leaders with bad hair. It's like a thing now. See, I can't be president because I can't have bad hair. I have no hair. I have to wait for the cycle where all the bald guys take over. I don't know when that happens. Oh yeah, AD 576. So you met Josh through Zach and Faith. They're wonderful people. So Zach and Faith. Zach is my other son. So I've got Josh, Zach, and Riley is my daughter. Faith is Zach's wife. So yeah, AD. So you're local. So I probably know who you are. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe I don't. But I'm glad you're here. Yeah. I'm guessing, have you been to Taco Tuesday? The famous Josh, Zach, and Faith Taco Tuesday? Every Tuesday. Of course, now there's no Taco Tuesday because of the quarantine. But Taco Tuesday, it's a big deal with my kids and their friends. Bhavesh, what do you do moments before and after going live on YouTube? So this time I'm just exhausted. I actually lie on the couch for 15 minutes and close my eyes, but not too much. I mean, I set up. It's gotten to the point where it's very comfortable. I was very stressed the first couple times with technology. I think I've got that figured out, so that's not too hard. I get everything set up. I chill out, maybe read, maybe watch some videos, and then I just kind of jump in and go live. Afterwards, I might pour a drink. It could be water, coffee, or a glass of something fun, and just chat with my wife a little bit and take it easy because it's Sunday, and you got to rest a little bit because the week is coming. Daniel, with today's technology, we could really elevate democracy. I'm aware that there are groups of experts trying to figure out how we could incorporate direct democracy into our world. Yep, absolutely. I've got some thoughts on democracy. We won't get into all that right now. I think I think individual liberty is really important, and I think we often conflate democracy with individual liberty, which is not necessarily true. Because in a democracy, 51% of the population can decide something, which means 49% of the population could have their liberties constricted. Now, I don't think that all liberty is good. Clearly, you should not be free to do things that hurt other people. But you could have in a direct democracy, democracy, democracy. I mean, the Greek, it's mob rules. It means the mob rules. I mean. So yes, there's a lot we could do with technology that would help us facilitate a more democratic, even direct democracy kind of society or societies. But you've got to ask the question: what do you do about the people that are the losers in those votes? If a slim majority says this is the way we're going to go, let's say the majority just decides that there's a certain political persuasion that they're going to just vote isn't you can't have anymore, or religious. Or the way that you spend your money. So let's say right now with the health issue, let's say everyone's scared about getting sick. Let's say there's a sickness going around that could kill a bunch of people but won't wipe out humanity. That's exactly what our current situation is. This sickness will not wipe out humanity, but it's going to kill a lot of people, all right? The majority could just vote and decide that you have to get immunized. You have to get a shot. You're not allowed to do certain kinds of businesses. You can't have family gatherings, et cetera. I mean, so that's an instance where democracy could be making decisions out of fear, and the minority, which could be a big group of people, 40% of the population could not agree, but they would be forced by the majority. So the other thing about democracy too, it really relies on an educated population. A good democracy has to have an educated population, and we struggle with that. Like, how do you even get good information anymore? Everybody's lying. The left, the right, how do you know what's true? So, Daniel, I'm not arguing with you. I want to be clear, but I just think there are some things that we've got to think about. We tend to conflate freedom with democracy, and that's not necessarily the case. Ideally, I think it's better than, obviously, totalitarianism and dictatorships, et cetera. But there's some flaws with democracy as well that we tend to ignore. We just go, oh, democracy is great. Anyway, yes, managed by artificial intelligence. Maybe then there'll be more strings to play on. It is a fascinating topic for me, but really only experts can craft something like this. Yes, we should create something called Skynet. If you remember the Terminator series, that was real big when I got out of high school, the first Terminator movie, but Skynet, artificial intelligence. Could you imagine? Those would be good times right there. Looking for John Connors. Ash Smith, you're about as unlike Boris Johnson as anyone could possibly be, which is a good thing. Thank you, my friend. Hey, Lori, how you doing? It's so good to see you. Lori Sudbrink, she's a good friend of mine. We know each other. She was actually a guest on my podcast last year. Be happy or be stupid. Don Miguel Ruiz. Love this quote. Keep it simple. Be happy or be stupid. And I think sometimes ignorance is bliss, is it not? So maybe I'm on the stupid side. Maybe I'm happy because I'm a dummy. But Lori, thanks for being here. George, my team's Liverpool and Salzburg. Liverpool's phenomenal. I have a friend. We don't really keep in touch anymore, but lovely, lovely guy. He kind of got me into soccer, quite frankly. Huge Liverpool fan. And I got to tell you, like, Liverpool struggled for many years. When they destroyed Barcelona last year, going through World Cup, I was sick to my stomach, but on the other hand, I was so happy for my buddy Mike because I thought, you know what? He's such a loyal fan to Liverpool. He loves that team. In my pain, I was happy for him that he got to enjoy the dismantling of the little Spaniards that I love so dearly. So, yeah, Liverpool, great team. I don't know a lot about German football, so Salzburg, are they in Bundesliga? I wouldn't know, but we had 3 years ago some guys from Barcelona working in our hotel. These guys were going crazy whenever there was a Barca game on TV. Yeah, and Barcelona, I've said it before on this stream, what a great country, or what a great city. I would live in Barcelona a heartbeat. Of course, right now, we're all just hunkering down, trying to stay alive. But, yeah, Zach and Faith make the best tacos in Rochester. They really do. They really do, AD. Pines with Zero, Nietzsche wrote about Zarathustra. I don't know, I'm struggling to say that. Who was an actual person from Persia. The story was motivated by Zarathustra's viewpoints, a nice merging of Persian and Greek mentalities. Yeah, I should read it. I'm not a big Nietzsche guy. I don't have anything against Nietzsche, but I should read that. It's a famous book. George, they even got Barcelona dress for our son. I will send you a photo on Insta. Awesome. Yeah, Ash Smith, I understand liking a big football club like Barcelona. I was big into Manchester United in the last 5 to 6 years of Sir Alex Ferguson. I mean, he's phenomenal. And the thing for me, too, with Barca, you have to understand, like, in America, I mean, we've got our MLS. We don't really have a deep soccer tradition, and we don't have, like in Europe, you guys, in Africa as well, you get a soccer team. It's your city. It's your pride. I mean, I know, like, Barcelona has Barcelona and they have Espanyol, and they fight each other, right? But if you're from Barca, you identify with one of those clubs. And because it's your people, it's your tribe, it's your blood, it's your city. We don't really have that in America. So I'm kind of stuck with Barca, and I'm fine with that. They're having a crap year, and they've been struggling for a couple years now. But we don't have a team in soccer. We do in football where you could say, these are my people, this is my pride, this is my family, etc. So it'd be hard for me to find like a smaller team to feel proud of. We have a little team here in Rochester, New York, the Rochester Rhinos. It's like a club, it's a small tier team. We go watch some soccer matches there. It's fun, but it's just not the same thing. The passion's not there. So I'm going on and on. Ash Smith, I understand liking. Oh, I read that already. Ash said they were so dominant in England and European competition. Every player was world class. Sir Alex was a genius. He really was. Hey, Lori. Good to see you. I'm so glad you're here. Thanks for jumping in. Pines with Zero, people who want AI governance should just imagine living under YouTube algorithm. Dude, that is such a great comment. I mean, here's the problem with AI and algorithms specifically. And people like to think because it's technology, it's pure. Someone had to design that algorithm. They can't help it. A lot of times they do it on purpose, but they can't help it. Our prejudices, and I don't just mean racial, I just mean prejudices as people, the way each one of us thinks. If you're the developer, your prejudices, your assumptions are showing up in that algorithm. And so what you are assuming is good, like mankind has been arguing over what's good. I mean, and so a developer just gets in there and goes, well, we can create an algorithm to figure this out. Well, the developer is bringing their assumption of what is good, what's necessary good, and what's evil, what's true, what's false. I mean, and we're living in a postmodern world where everybody decides their own truth. I mean, so you start developing all these algorithms that then kind of feed some type of AI monster. And we go, oh, but it's technology, so it's pure, it's the data. Well, the data is impure. The data is not objective. And this idea of objectivity is a joke. I mean, I want things to be objective, but we have to be more honest with ourselves that even in our technology lacks objectivity because it's made by humans, and we just bring these things to the table. And we're blind. We don't always see. I mean, my friend Lori, who's here right now, she works with corporate teams. She helps teams work better together and help people grow in their efficiencies. She could tell you, I think, like, we don't know our own blind spots. Sometimes we don't know how the things we believe are influencing how we behave. It's kind of subconscious. We're not aware of it, but it's there. So yeah, the whole algorithm thing is, hey, look, computers are great digital technology. I'm sitting here in little upstate New York talking to people all over the world right now, so I love it, but it is questionable. So Pauline's got to go. Thank you. Bless you too, Pauline. Thanks for jumping in. So let's see. Pines with 0. George, you are really making a pitch for your takeover of the planet. I hope you take Jurgen Klopp as world trainer. Yeah, Jurgen's impressive, and he's a sleeper for me. Like, I look at Jurgen, and I don't follow Liverpool that much. But he's got his tan slacks on and his little beard, and just he looks like, I don't know, he looks like a schlub to me. And then you see him, and he's like intense, hardcore, and he's really whipped Liverpool into shape. I mean, that team is a juggernaut. So, yeah. Daniel, each person could have a say, and there could be a system to showcase the overall sentiment day to day, like stock markets. We could understand the environment. Just an extra tool for government plus media. Yeah, I mean, you're not on the wrong path. And it's just a lot of questions around some of that. So Pines with 0, you're taking off. Hey, man, thanks for jumping in. We're at about 4:30. I should wrap this up anyway. George, Salzburg is playing in the Austrian league, not even in the German Bundesliga. I'm sorry, George. I'm so sorry. I should know better. Guys, this has been a lot of fun. I've enjoyed having everybody on. Oh, let me just real quick. Lori says, too often, we're too close to ourselves to know our blind spots, Mike. It can be enlightening and frightening, but a good exercise for leaders. Yeah, totally agree. Guys, we're about an hour and a half in, and I've really enjoyed this conversation. So thank you for taking the time, as always. And I love you guys. I hope you have a great week. I hope that at the least this conversation time together is just encouraging. And you really made my day, so thank you. And I'll be talking to you guys soon, all right? So take care, and I will catch you guys in the next stream/video.